Good evening, everyone. I'm Russ Morgan here on deck here on FTSN. Welcome back. I had to take a couple weeks away from baseball. I was a little heated. Obviously, I'm a diehard Yankees fan, so I was a little pissed off, and I'm still a little pissed off. Like I could get going for like an hour and a half on the Yankees, honestly. And the one thing I've been we're gonna be talking Marlins baseball today. Miami Marlins. I'm give love. We're started off as South Florida network, so I'm gonna give a little love to my uh, producer, who's a big Marlins fan. And but this offseason, I'm gonna plan. We're gonna cover one individual team a week, starting off with the Marlins, talking free agency guys that I could see them signing good pickups. Outlook for the year. Uh, I'm a former scout, so I really would love to dive deep into the outlook of their future with some of the prospects, which would be great for the Marlins because they have a hell of a farm system. I was I'm still a little pissed off about the Yankees, and I'm trying not to talk about it as much, but like I could get going. I The one thing I've realized about baseball. I mean, I've always known about baseball, but the one thing that I realized from that World Series is base fundamentals. I think for me, and if you have a different opinion, throw it out. Always like, comment, and subscribe. Anything. I always appreciate comments. So if you have a different opinion, I'm fine. I don't care. We can always. I like different opinions. I don't need everybody agreeing with me every time. If you have a different opinion, I want to hear it. I want to discuss it. So that's fine with me. But for uh, for me, watching that World Series, and we're gonna hit on the Marlins a little later. Baseball, it's so key to have good fundamentals, and I think for me, why I love baseball so much is if you don't. Baseball is probably the only one sport where if your fundamentals aren't good, you can lose a game. I think in football, basketball, other sports like that, you can get away with your athleticism. And in baseball, if your fundamentals aren't good, your defense isn't good, you're not playing consistent fundamentals, it hurts you. And we saw that in the World Series. I could yell about that for hours and hours and hours, and I could probably do a whole show on how Juan Soto can go to the Mets. I don't want to get into that. I'm going to get a little too heated tonight. I want to keep this light, talk a little different team. So we're going to jump in, talk about a little Miami Marlins. All right, Miami Marlins. It was a tough year, 62-100. They did end of the year. For me, I didn't. I'm in Tampa, so no, I'm in Sarasota, which is a Tampa technically suburb. If I'm wrong, I don't know, but I guess technically like 60 miles out. Uh, so I didn't get a lot of Miami games, but I did see. I mean, for me, when I was watching the Marlins, and I've been doing this show since February, they started off so poor, get hot. So they started off so far behind the eight ball that they couldn't get going. But I mean, they ended on the year 6-4 in the last 10, and they did. If you Two positives for the Marlins is they did rank at the bottom of the league in run scores, but also on the ranked at the bottom of the league in run scores on the negative side, but on the positive side, we're in the top 10 in the bottom of the league in runs allowed. So that's pretty impressive because we all know baseball is all about pitching, all about pitching. So I mean that's one upside. I definitely want to get into all the players returning because for me, I'm higher on the Marlins than other people just because their record was 62-100. I think they can be a team to be reckoned with if it all works out. All those players come back. But I mean, on the other side of the note, Marlins did hire former Dodgers first base coach Clayton McCullough. McCullough's been with the Dodgers for a while, obviously just coming off that World Series. Was introduced on November 18th. So just, not November 18th. That's today. That's what the article I'm reading. Reading everything. I like what he said from him. He goes, I want to be the 17th. I don't want to be the 18th manager, kind of saying, hey, I'm going to leave. I'll be, I want to be the 17th manager of the Miami Marlins. Obviously, he's the 17th head coach the Marlins have had. I kind of like the hire, knowing what the Marlins kind of go for and what they're a very young team. And what stood out to that front office was he's strong in player development. He's strong in player development. So that's a solid side, and he comes from a winning background. The guy, has been around the ball game for a while. Obviously, he's been with the Dodgers. He does have his family is from Jupiter, Florida. So he's a Florida kid. So that's also Florida guy. That's also good. But the winning background and what the Marlins are probably trying to go is they're trying to, because they have so many young players that are returning from injury. They're trying to get that a guy to bring in a spark, bring in a winning atmosphere that we haven't seen in Miami in a long time. Since 2003. They beat my team, very painful series in 2003. But I mean, that was a young team that no one saw coming. And yes, hell, they had some players on that team. Obviously, you had former Hall of Famer, going to be Hall of Famer Miguel Cabrera, Josh Beckett, AJ Burnett. What's his name? Who's the center fielder? Why can't I remember the center fielder's name? Anybody? Why can't I? God, I can't remember the center fielder's name on that team, and it's going to drive me nuts all night because I know his little ass head, little speedy guy. It's going to drive me nuts. I mean, you had a Hall of Famer. You had Pudge, Ivan Rodriguez, Pudge there too. I mean, that was a solid team, but no one saw him coming because you're going up against the Bronx Bombers, the evil empire as they were known back in that day, which personally, for me being a Yankees fan, I didn't think that team was all that great. Probably should have lost to the Red Sox in 2003, but, Aaron Boone, hit some miraculous home run. But that's a solid team. I mean, in that time, we still had Miguel Cabrera playing third base, and he's, with a skinny 20-year-old kid from Venezuela. But that was, a great team. Beckett wasn't even pitching that team. I mean, not Beckett. Burnett wasn't pitching. Someone, Marlins fans out there, want to throw out that rotation. For some reason, I only remember Josh Beckett. Granted, it's been 21 years, so I'm a little rusty on my Marlin, but that was a solid team, very good team. But I mean, you get the good hire from the Dodgers, guy who comes from a winning background, experience with player development. So I think that's a really solid hire for the Marlins, a guy who's going to come in with the player development background, because they have a lot of young, exciting players. Even after obviously you're talking about the injuries are a big key to what the Marlins what led to the Marlins down year, but they also have some really solid players with some bright spots. I mean, you got 25-year-old switch hitting shortstop Xavier Edwards, batted .328, a .397 on base percentage, 31 stolen bases. So he's going to be a key piece in that number six spot in the lineup out there playing shortstop. That's a guy's 25. He could be there for years to come. I mean, so he's got the speed. Hometown kid too. Was drafted by the Padres, but is from North Broward Prep in Coconut Creek, Florida. And he did turn into baseball's he slowly turned into baseball's one of the best leadoff hitters in the game. So, I mean, that's as much as down with the Marlins of such a down year, and it's been down for a while, and coming off a a wild card the year before, a surprise wild card spot, and then you go to 62 and 100. I think you got to start looking at the bright spots, and this is definitely one of the other bright spots. The other one is third baseman Jake Berger, 28. He started off really slow, but ended the year as one of the better power hitters in baseball. I mean, he batted 250, 29 home runs, 76 RBIs, 301 on base percentage. So I mean, those are two key pieces of what the Marlins are going to be trying to build on with their guys. Obviously, offensively, you got a long way to go. But I mean, you got two staples in there. I see them adding. I'm going to get into some names later. Trying to add some outfield pieces. Obviously, you got some from the outfield. In the outfield, you got Griffin Conine. I'm a college guy, so I know he went to Duke University. Guy's got baseball in his blood with this father. Drafted by the Marlins too in the second round. You got Kyle Stowers, who they got in that trade with the Orioles. So it's another guy who was blocked with the Orioles. I'm going to get more of that blocked playing with the Orioles and getting time. I think that's solid time. So, I mean, I think they got pieces. Obviously, coming into the year for the Marlins, their strength, you thought the strength would be their pitching staff. Obviously, you lose Sandy Alcantara. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm sorry. Alcantara. I don't know how to say his last name. But, I mean, coming into the year, you think their pitching staff is their strength. You lose Yuri Perez to Tommy John for the year. And then before the year started, that was the spring training. By June, you lose Braxton Garrett, who is going to be another key piece of that rotation. Ryan Weathers, who was in San Diego, going to be another key piece. Jesus Luardo, all ended up on the IL. And we're all ticketed to be major parts of that rotation in 2024. So, I mean, and not to mention you lose Sandy for the full year, who was the Cy Young winner in 2022. I'm expecting big things if these guys come back healthy. Because I mean, if these guys come back, I mean, you got Alcantara, who's obviously the leader in the bunch in that pitching staff, being 28. But you got, I mean, there's 29. You got Braxton Garrett, 27. You got Yuri Perez, 21. You got Jesus Luardo, 27. You got Weathers, 24. Also, I'm really high on former second overall pick out of University of Minnesota, Max Mayer, at 25. I mean, struggled. I don't know where they're gonna put him. Obviously, he's got an electric fastball. His fastball is electric. But where is he gonna be? Are you gonna put him? They've been trying to get him to start. He started 11 games this year, 57 innings pitched. But are you gonna use that electricity in the bullpen? I'm not really big on my watch a lot of Big Ten college baseball. I'm more locked into the SEC because it's so great. But I'm 98.5% sure he was a closer at Minnesota, and he hits 102 off the gun. So I mean, I don't know where you kind of put him if they're trying to keep him in that rotation, or maybe you put him in the pen. Maybe he can give you some extended innings. Be that middle relief. Maybe you throw him in the back end where he's shutting down games. But I mean, this is a key for them. I think. I mean, I'm high on you add Connor Norby in that trade with the Orioles, who they got in the Orioles in that trade deadline accusation, who was another guy who was tearing up AAA, who could never find a place to spot, blocked by Urias. Wow, I don't even know. I can't even remember who their second baseman was. Ended up being Jackson Holiday. Block guy could never find a place to play. So I think that was I think that even though that's not an off-season acquisition, I think some of the stuff that the Marlins did was great. Those are pieces for that offseason that are going to be great. And these are really young guys that can help the team. You also get Kyle Stowers from that same outfield who was blocked in the outfield, Cedric Mullins, Santander, Heston Kjerstad got a little time. So he could never really find a role. He got a cup of coffee here and there with the Orioles, but could never get a full-time role. I think both these guys are going to be full-time roles. Norby can play second or third, so he's got good versatility. Norby was end of the year 247, 315 on base percentage. I love the versatility with him, and I think that's beautiful. If you got a guy who you can move him around, you can play him second, play him third. I think that's great. I think Stower's phenomenal guy out of University of Stanford. Played at what they call their baseball field, the farm. Played out of Stanford, was a hell of a college baseball player. I think it's going to be a great throw in the outfield. The outfield, you got, was it Jesus Lowarz? What's his name? I'm going to get this right. Who's in the outfield? Sorry, I want to get this right on who's in the outfield, because I think the outfield's something they're going to try to. For me, I view the Marlins trying to view the outfield as off-season acquisitions. I see them going with that. Oh, we're seeing this right on the homepage. They knew this guy was the right fit. They knew McCullough was the right fit. This is driving me nuts, going so slow right now, and I'm trying to get the correct out, because I'm viewing. I've got a couple names. I'm viewing the outfield as a big part. Obviously, you got Conine who's in there. You got Mesa maybe playing a little center. You got Jesus Sanchez. I really like Stower. Conine, little power hitter, young guy born in '97. Stower's in '98. I mean, this outfield's there. I mean, Xavier Edwards, young guy. I think you got John Bride, young guy. I just think some of these things with the Marlins is great. Obviously, they lost Skip Schumacher. Fine. I mean, the guy, man, it sucks. But you can't go from a wild card to a 62 win team. But I in my opinion, I'm kind of like stuttering there. I view that trade deadline as some of the off-season guys. You pick up some players who are good enough to play in the big leagues, like Norby, like Stowers, but could never find a consistent role with their team because the team they came from was so deep. The Marlins' new president of baseball operation, Peter Benix. He was sparking at the winter meetings. They're going to be heavily involved in free agency. So what does that mean? What can we see with their new president of baseball operations saying that they are going to be heavily involved in that off season? For me, we might have someone come on a little bit later, talk Marlins fan, if he can make it on, great. He can ask me questions. I do have some questions. I've never understood what is the deal with I've always wondered, and I really want to get a Marlins fan point of view on this, is why is Miami such a key destination for other sports, such as the Dolphins and the Miami Heat? We've seen obviously the Miami Heat get one of the best basketball players in the world with LeBron James. Why is it such a key destination for those two major sports, and then you got baseball who struggles to get these guys. Why do people want to come to Miami? You got the beach there. You got the nightlife might be a little, crutch. You got the beautiful people all around. It's Miami. Why is it you get these big name guys in football and basketball? Obviously, football you got Tyreek Hill, Waddle, all these guys. Basketball, now you got Jimmy Butler. You had Dwayne Wade, who was why do all these big name guys want to come to Miami, and then it comes to baseball, they just push it aside? I would love to if I can get a Marlins fan to give me a clear answer to that, because when I think Miami and Florida in general is growing like hell. So I think and Miami's getting, crowded as can be, but that's a big market. When you think New York, you think Los Angeles, you think Boston, and Miami as a big four. I just don't understand why Miami when it comes to the Miami Marlins, they are thrown to the side. Is it ownership not wanting to win? Is it not getting the big enough fan base? I'd love anybody out there want to throw a comment. I would love to get that. I'd love to get that. And me being from Florida, I'd love to get that answer. But we got Peter Benix. He said they're going to be heavily involved. In my opinion, I see the Marlins heavily involved in the outfield market. You got I view a former couple guys I see would be getting those veteran guys such as Harrison Bader, Mark Canha, or Max Kepler. All three veterans, all could help that team. Probably all three guys that McCullough would want to target, because these guys they've been in the league for such a long time. Bader with the Mets there, so he knows about grinding it out. Obviously, he's a Yankee, and he knows about winning. Kepler's been around a long time. K9, kind of a journeyman, been going around. I could also see them targeting bullpen pieces such as former Red Jacob Junis. Is coming off career low in ERA, 2.69 ERA. He's only 32, so I see that as a key piece. The one I want to get on this. I think they could target Alex Verdugo. I think you go Verdugo would be, if he gets away from the Yankees, which I think he does. I don't think he has a spot there as they want to go another direction. You had Jason Dominguez, but is it? I think Verdugo. Verdugo's a solid guy. You could get him on a cheap 1-year deal. He's coming off a down year. He batted 233 with the Yankees, but he did bat 283 from 2019 to 2023 with the Red Sox and some with the Dodgers. No, that was with the Red Sox. So this guy's got he's coming off a down year, but there's high upside there. He's put up the numbers. He's just coming from a down year. So I think that's three guys they could view. I was, doing my research. There's one name that really jumped out and would be maybe not a signing, not from a positional need. If all those guys, if Yuri Perez comes back, Braxton Garrett comes back, Alcondera comes back, Ryan Weathers, Max Mayer, maybe not from a position of need. If these guys come back, but the one guy I saw was maybe targeting Walker Buehler. I'm a Yankees fan. I love all baseball, but I'm a Yankees fan, so I'm not going to speak for the Miami Marlins fan base. But being a diehard baseball fan, and what this show is a baseball show, I'm always going to lean towards the Yankees. Obviously, if you guys saw any of the World Series preview or the game 1 and 2 recaps, I'm always going to lean towards the Yankees, but I'm the most heavy critic of the Yankees too. I will rip the shit out of my team. But coming from a pure just baseball fan, a guy who I grew up playing baseball, played all the way through college. I coached baseball. I coached at a high-level high school in Southern California, which is top 10 nationally ranked. Guys such as, went there. Garrett Coles, I was not there when I coached. He's a couple years older than me. Garrett Mitchell plays with the Brewers, another big guy who I got to see when he was a junior. But I mean, and I've scouted baseball for a couple of years and got to see this. I'm just coming from a guy who loves the game, and but the name Walker Buehler, even though it would not be a signing of it's if everybody's healthy, all those names that we brought out, I talked about earlier, if those guys are healthy, it wouldn't be a need. But if you sign a guy like Walker Buehler, who yes, he has had his injury history, obviously had 2 Tommy Johns, but this guy was a big piece in that 2020 COVID World Series, and we saw it during this playoff. This guy was a massive piece of the Dodgers rotation. Obviously, he just shoved Game 3 against the Yankees, and then came in and shoved in the 9th inning of Game 5. And I mean, I love Buehler. I mean, the guy's got zip on the ball. I as much I hate the Dodgers. I will hate the Dodgers. Phenomenal team. Just on a little side note, the difference between the Dodgers and the Yankees, if you look at the numbers, it was not that. They were very close numbers wise. They only outscored the Yankees 25-24, and a lot of that came in that Game 3 blowout. But the difference between a good team and a team that's just baseball gifted is the fundamentals. When it felt like the Dodgers made a mistake, they clean it up. They did not make a lot of mistakes. When the Yankees make mistakes, they jump on it. And I could have yelled for hours on fundamentals when I don't see Garrett Cole's ass running to first for PFPs. That's something you do when you're, in 3rd grade. So, I mean, it's just like the difference is the reason that the Dodgers were just a fundamentally sound team. I'm getting off on a tangent here, but and that's what makes good Yankees great team. That Dodgers great team that makes them even better. They're fundamentally sound. So, I mean, the Buehler thing, I love Buehler. Guy's got zip. If he stays healthy, I love him. He's got a little run on his fastball. It's got life. It comes out of the hand quick. It's just a little. It comes out quick. So I don't think the signing. If I was the Dodgers, there's no way I'd let this guy go. There's no way. I don't know what the Dodgers would be thinking, because this guy's been a key piece of your team since 2020. Obviously, he came back with the if on a side note with Buehler, if he came back, he was off the roster. He didn't even make the roster for the 2019 playoff run, and the guys in the stands watching the Dodgers lose to the Astros. And then he comes back in 2020, which, shortened year, which was really, really weird. And I think it was kind of a down year for pitchers. Pitchers are, creatures of habit. They need that time to ramp it up. They need that time. They didn't get that time. But this guy comes back, key piece. This guy was struggling he didn't even know if he'd make the roster this year, struggling in the regular season, comes back, has one subpar start in the postseason, and just absolutely shoved. So, I mean, I feel that'd be an unbelievable signing. If they get him, that's a huge win, because you're not – I think you have a solid 1-2 if Alcondar stays healthy. Because if Buehler stays healthy, he's been injured, but the guy's got jump. His slider, his curveball is nasty, and his fastball just kind of jumps out of the hand. He's not huge, intimidating, big guy. He's kind of skinny, lanky, but the fastball just jumps. It jumps. So I think that'd be a solid signing. Obviously, McCullough, guy coming from the Dodgers, he wants to instill a winning atmosphere into this team that lost 100 games last year. So I think that'd be if you are a Marlins fan, don't go into it as why are we signing why would we sign a guy Walker Buehler with all these pitchers with Alcantara coming back with Perez, with Garrett, with Jesus Loarzo, with Weathers, with all these guys coming back. You get that guy win because this guy's coming from a winning perspective. He's won his whole life. Obviously, he was at University of Vanderbilt. If you know anything about University of Vanderbilt in college baseball, they're the cream of the crop. I know everybody's coming at probably like, Russ, what are you talking about? Look at Vanderbilt is a baseball university. I know, Russ, what are you talking about? Look at their football program, which their football program is getting a little better too. They beat University of Alabama, so that's pretty impressive. But, I mean, Vanderbilt is a winning program. So this guy's won with Vanderbilt, made the roster, won 2 World Series with the Dodgers. So don't – if they somehow get Buehler on a deal, don't look at it as like, hey, we're already set with that rotation. Think it as a win because you're getting, you bring in a manager, Clayton McCullough. This guy wants to bring a winning atmosphere to Miami and kind of fire these people up. There's also one name I saw when I was doing my research and I saw this name on the list for the Marlins, a guy they might target. Obviously, a little down is Yoan Moncada. Now, he's 30, 275 career hitter. I mean, bet a 275 this year, but only played 12 games. Career 254 hitter, 355 year on base percentage. And why would you want to sign this guy 254? He's been injured. I think the Marlins want to sign this guy because he's from Cuba. He's Cuban. Where is the Miami Marlins Stadium? I had to get reassurance on this. It's in Little Havana. So this guy, that Cuban fan base would come out. Anybody ever watched when they have the World Baseball Classic against Miami, and it's in Miami? You watch Cuba game, you watch Venezuela, you watch Puerto Rico. It's insane. The amount of people who love baseball, it's insane. It's a whole different atmosphere. So I think that would fire the fan base up, get them going a little bit. So I think this would be a killer signing. Moncada obviously was a very, very high player when he defected from Cuba. Very high on the list with the Red Sox, got traded in that sale deal. Came down a little. Maybe this is something he needs. Maybe he needs to come to Miami where he can get a little more feel. He feels a little more like he's home because there's such a big Spanish, Hispanic population. The Cubans, the Dominicans, the Venezuelans. Maybe that's something he needs and gets him going. That's what I think. If I'm, I think that he'd feel more comfortable in Miami than he would Chicago because it feels more like home, and the stadium's in Little Havana. Maybe that's just me, but I see that as a W, a big W. But for the offseason, I could see them signing one or two outfield pieces. If you get Verdugo, that's a solid signing. Maybe Bader's a guy who can play all the way in the outfield. Obviously, we played center field. I think that'd be a good signing too. And he's got speed. He's got the experience. I think that's a good signing to go with the young guys. Go with Conine. Go with Stower. So you got a lot of young guys. That are unproven, proven at the minor league level, not proven at the major league level. Guys I'm high on. I think Conine, I remember watching him when Duke had a hell of a year when he was a junior. They went to University of Georgia, and this guy just dropped an absolute bomb. Just bomb. So two guys that are, not very proven in Major League Baseball, but I'm expecting big things from that. And Connor Norby? Yeah, Connor Norby, same thing. And scouting, coming from a scouting background. And coming from a baseball background, if I'm going 3 for 10, if I go 3 out of every 10 at bats, I'm batting 300. I'm winning. I'm failing 7 times, and guys could get in the Hall of Fame. You look at a guy like Derek Jeter. How many times he fails. He goes. One of the. I'm pretty sure. Obviously, I don't know what people's opinions are about Derek Jeter after what he did with the Marlins. You guys, I think Marlins fan base should be very happy because he got that Giancarlo Stanton. Yes, they're like, Stanton's going so. Why are you getting rid of this young guy? Send him to your former team, the Yankees. He got that contract is a hamstring to the Yankees. So he can play one position. He can DH. You saw he can't run. So, I don't know what those Marlins fan bases, Derek Jeter, you should be thanking him he got that off the books because that would still be hamstringing you to this day. So, you look at Jeter. I think the best thing I ever heard him, one of the best things I heard him say when he was retired, he goes, if I go in thinking knowing I'm going to fail 7 to 8 times, I'm going to win. And he won. And obviously, he, should have been a unanimous Hall of Famer for the one, excuse my language, jackass voter who didn't vote him in. I probably pissed somebody off, but I'm a Derek Jeter fan, and don't give me that shit. Sorry. I try not to swear much, but when you mess with my guy Jeter, I get a little pissed off. But you should thank him. Stands on. I could see him trying to go for Verdugo, K9, Kepler. Obviously, he was with the Kepler's. A solid piece. I'm pretty sure Kepler is the only German-born player in Major League Baseball right now. But those are a handful of names in the outfield that have Major League experience and they can work with those young guys and get them going up. Because, as it is, there are a lot of young guys. On my opinion with the Marlins, I'm a little higher on the Marlins than maybe other people just because they lost 100 games. I think they can be a dark horse wild card team. You get these signings, these young guys pan out. You get all those pitchers back. If you get all these guys back, that's a nasty pitching staff. Nasty pitching staff if you get the former Cy Young. Loarzo, the guy's been a hot topic. Lowardo. I've been saying his name wrong. That guy's been on the market forever because teams want him, and the Marlins have been holding on to him for forever because they know how valuable he is. So, that's a solid one, too. You get in Yuri Perez and Bractus and Garrett. These are guys who could be a 4. Both these guys could be a 3-4 on the Marlins if these guys pan out. And then, that's an easy – they're all 2-3 starters on other teams. So, and then you got Ryan Weathers, who the guy can eat innings like no one else. And then you got Max Meyer. So, I think they can – in my opinion, I think they can be a dark horse wildcard team. I think they can steal a wildcard spot. I think the NL East maybe in a little flux. Where are the Phillies going to go? The Mets, obviously, what are the Mets going to do? What are the Mets going to do? Are they going to re-sign Pete Alonso? They've lost a lot of pitching. You lost Sean Manaea. You lost the lefty Jose Quintana. You lost Severino. Are they going to bring those guys back who are key pieces of that playoff run that got them to the NLCS? So I think it's a little flux. Are they going to go big to sign Juan Soto? If you go big to sign Juan Soto, which all the reports is the Mets have already made a bid and it's $660 million. So, and we all know, Steve Cohen's got deep, deep pockets. We saw it a couple of years ago with Scherzer and Verlander. So, we'll see what they do. I think it's a little flux. The Braves are getting older. We shall see. But I think they can, in my opinion, they can sneak a wild card spot. So I don't know. We'll see what they do in the offseason. I do want to throw out a couple names. They do have a really strong farm system, very strong farm system of a handful of top 100 guys. You got Thomas White, who's drafted in that 23 class from that what they call it, the sandwich round, which was like competitive balance round A. You have competitive balance round A and B, and he was A. White, I like him. Law, you got him. He's not getting now. They're saying he's not going to be up until 27 for White. Long, lengthy left-handed pitcher, but was considered the best left-handed pitcher in the 23 class coming out of high school. He could have a 3-pitch mix with fastball reaching up to 97, high spin rate curveball, sits mid 80s, mid 80s, and a solid feel for the changeup. And if you're watching any baseball, who just won the Cy Young? Tarek Skubal. Congratulations on that. Congratulations, Paul Skeens. But we're talking about that changeup. Tarek Skubal goes from that changeup, and that changeup is such pitch. So I think that's good. Obviously, he's a little longer way off. They got Noble Meyer, 6'5" righty, ETA's 2026 10th overall pick in 2023, Oregon Gatorade Player of the Year in 23. But they signed him. One thing is not a lot of people see. They signed him to below slot value to sign Mayer to get him from that college commitment. So, this guy's, high spin rate slider, mid 80s. If he pans out, could be a frontline starter, but does need to regain his fastball. You got Robbie Snelling from that Padres trade, who could be pushing for a middle rotation spot this year sometime. Rotation, left-handed pitcher. You got Agustin Ramirez, who, he was a catcher with the Yankees, high power numbers in AAA, could obviously never get up there. Obviously, you had Trevino, you had Wells, so could never find that spot. He was in that Jazz Chisholm trade. But he's a guy who could get up. Now, he stands out offensively more than defensively, and that's why scouts view him more as a first base. But I think that's a guy high power numbers. But wrapping this up, as bad it is as the year was for the Marlins, the 2024 season, at losing 100 games, I see them competing for a wild card spot. I see if all these guys pan out, they stay healthy, it could be a really, really good year for them. They got a lot of young players. Being just a pure baseball fan, it's kind of exciting to see. Maybe you get, you see this year with Paul Skeens and Tarek Skubal, who, Skeens Rookie of the Year, Skubal just won the Cy Young. I love seeing these new faces in baseball. So I see the Marlins being a dark horse for a wild card. So I would get excited for some Marlins baseball. Also, being an unbiased opinion, get rid of the, excuse my language, the shit uniform and color scheme you had, and go back to the old Florida Marlin teal and black. That's my opinion, just being an unbiased fan. That was such a better look, and that's when you were winning. Get back to that. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight, talking some Miami Marlins baseball. You guys, please remember, like, comment, subscribe. I'm Russ Morgan. This is On Deck here on FTSN. Oh, shit.